It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. Where do you want to start today, Christian?
Well, of course, the biggest story. Wake up, guys. We've got the Big 12 championship tomorrow.
You wake up. You've got to do the broadcast
Christian,
in the morning.
starting the
Go
day.
to bed now.
Are you going to be with both Alexes?
Yeah. Alex Carey, Alex Napolis.
You going to do 2 hours right up until kick?
Yep.
That's convenient.
8 a.m. right up to kickoff. Get you ready, and then we'll do the post-game show right after.
I'm going to be curious if BYU does come out throwing the ball, because I do think that's what everybody has said. As you mentioned, it's what Brando said. I think if you watch the film, you wonder why they weren't doing that more. And I kind of wonder if you zag when everyone thinks you're going to zig, or zig when everyone thinks you're going to zag. I wonder if you come out and you do say, this is our identity. We're a good running team, and Bear can throw the ball, and you have a very talented receiver core. You also can't put yourself in a spot where, you make a big mistake early, which Texas Tech is going to try and force you into by, if Bear is dropping back and they get a good pass rush, hit you while you're throwing the ball, or Bear does make a mistake, which he has been prone to, especially on the road this season, is that Texas Tech's chance? And I wonder if they do just say, hey, we think our defense can put us in advantageous spots. We cut out some of the mistakes, and we keep going with our strength. And again, their strength over the last 3 weeks has been L.J. Martin.
Ben, it's that kind of thinking that gets you Pickett's charge, honestly. Logic needs to apply here. And running against this Texas Tech team just ain't going to happen. It's just not without some sort of... why did Utah lose to Texas Tech?
Couldn't throw the ball.
Why did BYU lose to Texas Tech? Didn't throw the ball, or couldn't, whatever you want to say. There's a little bit of both mixed in there. You could probably say the same things about the Utah game, didn't or couldn't. Okay. You've got to figure out a way to be effective and score points.
Yeah.
Got to figure out a way to get to 30. And you've got to take advantage of where the other opponent is not as strong. Sun Tzu, Ben, Art of War.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do that, I don't think that will be successful.
It's the most passing yards. They've given up one game over 300 yards. That was lost to Arizona State. So you look at a formula. How do you beat them? You throw for 300 yards. They're 0-1 when they've allowed 300 yards this year. They're 10-0 when they've allowed 282 or fewer, 281 or fewer. So, yeah, you have to move the ball through the air if you feel like you can. The one thing I do go back to in these situations is, these coordinators that are going up against Texas Tech aren't dumb. They know that. They recognize that throwing for 300 yards is a good way to get there, is a good way to beat them. They couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yeah,
either.
But that comes down to, are they equipped to do it?
Yeah,
and
they might not be.
And that's a different story too. Again, no defense. There has been no perfect college football defense outside of the '99 Virginia Tech Hokies. Mm-hmm. That was the perfect defense. That team was number 1 in defense and offense. I believe the only time in college football history. No big deal, Ben. There's never been a perfect defense. You got to go at them where even like if you look at Kyle Whittingham's defense at its very basic, it is absolutely vulnerable. Now, can you go out there and take advantage of it? Like, he's going to leave corners on an island, and that allows him to do all sorts of things like stop the run and stack up pressures, and he's daring you to beat his all-conference corners. But if you beat the all-conference corners, what happens?
Yeah, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble. And so Whit would run into trouble in random games when in the Mountain West in the mid-aughts, like New Mexico had Hank Baskett. You remember that guy? Ended up dating one of the Hugh Hefner's girlfriends.
But every time they faced Luke Falk.
But anyway, they'd struggle
Washington
randomly with these receivers that would just light them up because all of a sudden it was a lot more difficult to guard them on an island. That's why Witt's defense being carved up by the run is so bizarre these last couple of games or whatever. But because that's not really where they're vulnerable. But you can't tell me that Texas Tech isn't vulnerable to something. And if Arizona State did prove it, it's that you need a playmaker in the, I almost said throw game. God, I hate that so much. In the pass game to crack it open. If not, you're going to lose because they're good. Well, you've been telling us that they're really good. They're good. Yeah, I got it. But they're not perfect. And they did lose. And how did they lose? And is BYU capable of doing that?
They beat BYU and they beat Utah. And those are the two other best teams in the Big 12. It is of note that they didn't play either Arizona or TCU, who are probably the next two best teams.
And can throw.
So while they have not given up big passing games traditionally, they also haven't played the best passing quarterbacks in the league. And Bear did throw for 188, not super impressive, and that game was, very tough for the Cougars. But, Arizona State, who probably is the next best team they faced, did throw for 300 yards. And Utah can't throw the ball. So
if Utah could throw the ball, they beat Texas Tech.
Yeah. Hey, if they connect that one pass that gets called back for illegal man downfield, you might beat Texas Tech because all of a sudden you have a lead and you can just slow the ball down.
But crashing into their line over and over again trying to run isn't going to work.
It's really hard to do.
It's not going to work.
Yeah. So I think that's what BYU should do. We've seen a lot of what we think they should do with offensive coordinators historically, and I'm not just saying at BYU, and it not come to fruition because, either they scare themselves or they recognize why other teams haven't been able to have success through the air either.
And then on the other side of the ball, this I've decided this is totally my number one game plan. Do you remember in, I guess it was Knocked Up, where they were talking to Katherine Heigl about losing weight, but they can't say you need to lose weight. And he was like, you just need to tighten. Just tighten. If I had to say to the BYU's pass rushers or defensive players in general, land heavy.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to land on the quarterback, land heavy.
No,
don't brace your fall. Just land heavy.
If there's a position group that can win this game for BYU, other than the receivers, which we're talking about on offense, those linebackers can have a huge game. Those linebackers getting to Barrett Morton and slowing him down and keeping him uncomfortable will be a huge plus for BYU.
What's next?
Number 2. Today is Friday, December 5th, which means today is the deadline for Kyle Whittingham to give Utah his decision to return or not.
Have we seen anything? Bartle me this. Has Kyle Whittingham retired?
I have not seen anything yet.
We haven't seen a Bartle bomb out there?
11:05. Steve Bartle.
Okay. We'll talk to Steve at 11:05, see what the latest is.
And again, what was the reason why? What did this coordinate with?
It's built into his contract, I believe. It's just a deadline.
Just an ambivalent, worthless deadline that if he says, I need another weekend, Utah will say, oh, yeah, sure. You've been here for 20 plus years. Yeah, we'll give you another weekend. I don't think this has anything to do with anything.
Oh, we have a little breaking news. Go ahead, Christian.
Just announced by On3, Penn State has their head coach, and it is relevant to the Big 12 Conference. They are hiring Iowa State's Matt Campbell.
This news broke last night that they were in serious talks with Matt Campbell, and he'd shown interest, and that's where their pivot was post Kalani Sitake. Matt Campbell's a really good coach. I've obviously teased him a lot on this show for what he can't do, but he does win 8 games every year in a much harder place to win than Penn State.
Well, Iowa State's going to the bottom of the league. That's going to happen.
I'll be really curious where they go. They seem like very logical. I don't know who he's bringing with him or if they have a situation where they just promote somebody within. He's relatively young, so I'm not sure they have the guy in waiting.
Even so, how
they
often
would
does
make
that
a
work?
lot of sense for both Morgan Scalley and Jay Hill to me. And that's pure speculation, obviously, but those would be names I would be interested in.
I wouldn't take that job if I were either guy. I think that's a job that's been propped up by a pretty good coach in the new world. I don't see Iowa State making any waves. You think Iowa State has any money?
Probably not.
No. They need a gimmick. They need
and
you know what? Matt Campbell was kind of a gimmick.
Yeah, they're a gimmick.
His defense scratch it out kind of style was
27-24
kind
every
of
game.
gimmicky. So they need to find another gimmick. I'm curious with how this whole Coach Witt thing is playing out. I mean, I guess the hard thing is don't predict things way down the road where you have no idea how you're going to feel at that moment in time. For example, remember when Urban Meyer told the whole Utah team on his way out the door that he wasn't going to coach for another, how did he put it, Kyle? Or you've heard this story a bunch of times. He said, I'm not going to coach till I'm 50. I'd be dead or something like that. I'm going to take this money because I can't coach forever. And then it comes right down to it, and it's like, oh, yeah, well, maybe I will coach another 20 years.
Yep.
Because you get to it, and you don't know how you'll feel, and you don't know. I'm sure Coach Witt thinks, like, I feel great. I'm doing great. I'm in a good groove. The program's in a good spot. All these things. Because it's tough to let stuff go. I mean, I kind of might make fun of that stuff on this show sometimes, but it's really true. Hyman Roth thinks he's going to live forever. I mean, that's everybody.
Yeah, term limits or whatever you run on. Yeah, thinking I can't imagine being that old and doing it. And you realize your body doesn't change. I mean, your body changes, but your mind probably doesn't change as much as you think it's going to. And yeah, it's hard to step out of the spotlight.
I worked with a guy at Sears. His name was Harold. He was an old engineer, and he was slinging hand tools. Lloyd probably remembers him. He was like, in his mid to late 60s or whatever. I was like, Harold, what are you doing working at Sears? Aren't you retired? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm retired. You running out of dough? Everything okay? Oh, everything's great. Just like tools, looking for something to do. Like, I feel great. I'm not in the, I want to lie at home and do nothing phase of my life.
Yep.
So I'm going to go interact with people and sell hand tools because it's something I enjoy, believe it or not, or
and you get
to keep
better
myself
at it.
occupied. You just never know. And I know Coach Witt's father passed away in his mid 60s, and I'm sure that had a real impact on Coach Witt. How could it not? But that's not you.
Absolutely.
That's not you necessarily. So I get why he would be torn. But the problem is you can't hold the football program hostage.
The hostage implication, though, is that they can't move up or move forward. Like, Witt's still the best guy for the job.
Yeah, you would think so. Well, I mean, he's had a great year.
You
Sure.
win 10 games this year.
I mean,
You've
he's had
got
a great year.
Quarterback coming back. You've got an offensive coordinator who looks like he has an idea of what he's doing. You just had a hell of a recruiting class.
But,
Utah's in an awesome spot right now.
But you have told someone else that they're also the best man for the job. And there is the transition of players are, in theory, going to be there longer than just a year or 2 years. So you have to have that. I mean, part of the coach in waiting thing is you hope that the transition isn't an abrupt one and that you can keep continuity in the whole thing, but you can't just keep it that way forever. I mean, I guess you can, but I don't know. I'm sympathetic to Kyle Whittingham, the person, but he's got a lot of people's lives in his hands. I'm serious. He's got a lot of people's lives and futures riding on what he wants to do.
I am sympathetic to Kyle the person because he's a human being and he deserves that. But I'm not sympathetic to Utah feeling like if they feel like they need to get rid of Witt, they're up in the night.
I don't think they
Witt rules. He's a great coach.
I don't think they feel that way. I think they feel like they have to plan for the future, both short and long, and going year to year it's hard to do that. That's really my point. I don't think Frank Beamer was pushed out. I don't think Utah's in push out phase. I don't think so.
They better not be. You're pushing out a 10-win coach with a returning quarterback. You're a bad athletic director.
The thing is, then Witt should have done the Joe Pa, where he said, "I am going to live forever." Don't into like coach in waiting. None of that stuff. Like, stop asking me those questions. I'm 74 years young. Leave me alone. Bobby Bowden didn't talk about retirement till he was like 80.
Yeah. Yeah, Witt has certainly talked about it enough. And if you want to say this is Witt's fault, I would listen to that for sure. But Utah shouldn't be anxious to get rid of him, not at this point.
They should be eager for some sort of decision and exit strategy.
Yes, I understand that. If he wants an answer, have an answer.
Even if that's like, no, I'm going to re-up and I'm going to sign a 5-year contract, at least that's something.
I don't think it's hurting them. I don't think Witt doing this year to year is hurting them. They just won 10 games, and this was the most year to year season he's had to date. So,
what's next?
The Jazz get a back-to-back against the New York teams. They beat the Nets last night. They will see the Knicks tonight.
First time they've won back-to-back games this season. Pretty rough first 3 quarters, and then a brilliant fourth quarter last night.
Listen, the Nets should be so embarrassed. So embarrassed. The Jazz didn't have a center. Mm-hmm. They're only quote-unquote big, which all offseason, everybody's been telling me the goal is to not have him be a big. Kyle Filipowski was the only one that you could even qualify as a big. And somehow the Brooklyn Nets lost decisively in the fourth quarter, where, Ben, if you can just get dunks every time up the floor, you're going to win every fourth quarter. And there's no reason why Brooklyn shouldn't have had a dunk every time up the floor. You know what's embarrassing? The Jazz outscored the Nets in the paint last night 56-46.
Yeah.
So my point is not necessarily they should be embarrassed for losing to the Jazz. They should be embarrassed to losing to a team that did not have a center. That is embarrassing.
The counterpoint is that the Jazz were down 9 to a team that I think their leading scorer on the court last night averaged 13 points a game. Because they were without Michael Porter Jr. and without Cam Thomas, who were their two guys who average, again, more than 13 points a game. So these were two quite hamstrung teams. But this is a game the Jazz should have won. This was a win from the opening night. They should have said that this is a game we expect to win this season. I know, again, whatever fans are worried about the Jazz winning too many games, it's like, yeah, you're going to beat the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are terrible. They're trying to be terrible, and they're sitting better players in games like this specifically to lose.
Well, I mean, we can get back to this later, but it looks like they're going to win too many games.
The Jazz?
Yeah.
You think they're going to win too many games?
It's looking that way. I mean, they may we'll see how drastically they pull the plug at the end of the year, but they're certainly on pace to do it. And Keontae George is playing at a crazy high level, and Lowry is in the top 10 in the league in scoring. And they're going to win several of these kind of games, enough to probably convey that pick. Unless, they really pull the plug at the end.
I think the horrendous strength of schedule to start the season is a bigger reason why they have 8 wins than anything else.
Yeah, but remember what a just awful pace they were on last year, and that awful pace had to continue.
Well, they don't need to finish with the worst record. They need to finish with the 6th or 7th worst record.
They need to not get to 30. I got you.
Yeah.
I know.
I think if they get to 25, which I look at the rest of the season, I still think 25 is probably a pretty realistic number.
Well, we can talk about that a little bit more. We'll see. I don't know. The injury also plays into it, I suppose.
And the schedule gets really tough. I mean, January's brutal. Just the rest of December is really good.
But I don't think anybody had Keontae plugged as a 2010 guy.
No, not at all.
And that's kind of what he's doing. All right, stay tuned. We'll get to more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.